sporting structures looking towards creating this safer space? I mean, obviously an app like Guardian, which is an anonymous reporting platform that all the athletes will be able to download. Obviously that's part of it. What are other measures that you think the national federations and the athletes themselves need to be putting into place to protect one another?
So I think the first thing, when federations decide how they're going to move down this road, I think that unquestionably step one is a policy manual. So they need to ensure that they have safeguarding policy. This is the rules of engagement. As a federation, if you're going to engage with our federation at any level, whether you are training, whether you are competing, whether you're going overseas, whether you're competing locally, with our federation, then you need to adhere to these rules. And federations have got to be guarded against writing policy that they don't police, because that then becomes even more dangerous than if they didn't have the policy in the first place. So the policy must be in place. And you're talking into reporting, but reporting is the reactive side. And for me, it is like if I could wave a wand and be to not remove the questions like how do we handle reporting, but to realize the question of how do we prevent reporting needed to happen in the first place. This thing is, and for me, I think this is a very valuable piece of information, and almost it seems like academic, and it seems kind of almost this trivia type of information, but so relevant. We have arguably one of the best constitutions in the world, without a question. We have some of the best reactive legislation in the world. We really, really do when it comes to safeguarding of children. If you rape a child in South Africa, we have legislation. When it comes to the proactive stuff, we're in the bush. We don't have any proactive legislation. Now, the problem that has happened now, or when I say the problem, what has happened is the likes of independent UNESCO and the confederations, the international confederations, who are primarily sitting in countries that, as a result of being more first world, have stronger proactive legislation. These proactive standards, SASCOC, you're not going to be able to send your South African team to compete on our Olympic stage or our international stage. Now the South Africans are going, well, hold the phone. Let us adhere to, we're filling the failure of proactive legislation with policy. So what the federations are doing and what the federations are saying is, listen, guys, South Africans, competitive. What's going to happen is if you want to compete, put your proactive stuff in place. We don't have law to say it. Doesn't matter. Because if we want to go and compete over there in Birmingham at the Commonwealth, or we want to go to Tokyo to the Olympics, SASCOC are driving the policy. The policies are proactive. Now we're causing the federations to behave in a way that mitigates as far as possible these things from happening. The next thing is to kind of go, once the policy is in place, and stick it on the top shelf of some secretary's office, we need to get people, designated safeguarding officers. They need to be appointed and trained at every single club of every single and the policy for their federation, and make sure it's being adhered to. So not just the policy pertaining to reporting, but the change room policy. Is there a change room policy? Does the change room policy, for example, talk to something referred to as the rule of two? The rule of two says that the change room, if there are children in that change room, if there are kids in there, you take an adult with you. And that rule of two applies to the online world as well. But we have that policy, and when that policy is transgressed, the designated safeguarding officer steps in and says, hey, Mark, or hey, your own, or don't go into the change room with your cell phone, or whatever, So these policies are in place. We've now got the people policing them. And then we get to your question, a long way of getting there, but the reporting. A lot of the federations have been a bit concerned about reports coming in because they don't have internal skill sets to address the reports when they come in. So it's kind of one of those, let us problem because we're not quite sure how we're going to deal with it. they're facing that now. Their policy is giving them the tools to deal with it. In partnering with us, certainly with SAEF, but most of the federations are partnering with us. They have that skill set as an outsourced service provider. So, or there is a relationship that's inappropriate, they just pick up the phone and they go, how's it, Mark? Listen, or one of our guys, and we'll just jump in and take over and sort that out. So the reactive side we've got, but if we focus on the proactive side, preventing them from offending in the first place, that's gold.